All right, let's jump right into this explainer. We're going to break down the basic foundational physics of an ECG, and then we're pivoting aggressively to the life-threatening rhythms you absolutely must know, whether you're on the floor in a clinical setting or staring down your board exams.
Zero. It's a scary number, right? Because zero represents the exact amount of cardiac output a patient has the second their heart goes into ventricular fibrillation. Literally zero fresh blood reaching the brain, zero oxygen hitting the organs. In those crucial ticking seconds, your ability to read that rhythm strip isn't just some academic exercise anymore. It is, quite literally, the difference between life and death.
So, to make sure you're totally prepared, we're going to cover the normal baseline, identify the lethal villain rhythms, compare them side by side in a cheat sheet table, drill down on the high-yield facts you got to memorize, and finish up with a final pulse to test your readiness. Okay, part one, the normal baseline, right? So, think of the SA node as your spark plug. Right at 0 seconds, it fires. That causes the atria to squeeze, giving us our P wave. Then the AV node steps in like a bouncer at a club, creating a tiny delay, that flat PR segment, just to make sure the blood actually has time to dump into the ventricles. At 0.12 seconds, boom, the signal rushes down the bundle branches for a massive ventricular contraction. That is your QRS complex. And finally, around 0.35 seconds, the ventricles just relax. They reset, and that paints the T wave right there on the screen.
Moving right along to part two, the lethal rhythms, where time really is muscle.
Enter ventricular fibrillation, or VFib. During VFib, the ventricles aren't actually pumping. They're just helplessly twitching. So again, zero blood is circulating. It's totally chaotic. It's wildly unorganized. You are not going to find a nice, neat P wave or QRS complex here. Honestly, it just looks like a chaotic scribble on the grid paper. And here is a massive board exam alert for you. VFib is a shockable rhythm. If DC cardioversion isn't performed instantly, this rhythm is going to rapidly deteriorate into asystole, which is a flat line, complete cardiac arrest. You don't wait, you don't hesitate, you grab the pads and charge that defibrillator. Moving to our next major villain, the STEMI. A STEMI physically represents a completely blocked coronary artery. The myocardial tissue is actively dying, so that elevation you see on the monitor, it's not just some machine glitch or artifact. It is a giant flashing structural warning sign that a section of the heart is literally crying out for oxygen right this second. Just look at the sheer visual contrast here. A normal, flat, isoelectric ST segment means the entire ventricular myocardium is depolarized, there's no net electrical movement, and the heart is safely resting. But that elevated ST segment, it's lifted significantly above the baseline. It serves as the universal fire alarm for a myocardial infarction. Now, because the 12-lead ECG acts like different camera angles pointing at the heart, memorizing these specific lead groupings is really the only way you'll know exactly which part of the heart is suffering. Step 1. Check leads 2, 3, and AVF for an inferior wall STEMI. Step 2, look at leads V2 through V4 for an anterior wall STEMI. And step 3, check leads 1, AVL, V5, and V6 to spot a lateral wall STEMI.
In normal sinus rhythm, everything is running perfectly. You've got regular P waves, proper intervals, a nice narrow QRS, and a rate somewhere between 60 and 100 beats per minute. Now compare that to sinus bradycardia. Both of these rhythms actually originate perfectly from the SA node pacemaker, but bradycardia simply means the system is firing much slower than 60 beats per minute. Everything looks exactly the same, it's just stretched out over a longer period of time. But what happens if the SA node totally loses control? If the top chambers start twitching chaotically from random ectopic sites, meaning rogue cells outside the normal pacemaker, you lose your P wave completely. This creates the incredibly common, totally messy rhythm known as atrial fibrillation, or AFib, where the distances between the R waves are just entirely unpredictable. Alternatively, in atrial flutter, the electrical signal gets trapped in a rapid loop, creating a super distinct, sharp sawtooth pattern on the baseline. Now, let's move down to the lower chambers, because things get a lot more serious here. When the ventricles take over completely and start firing rapidly on their own, completely ignoring the top of the heart, you get ventricular tachycardia, or VTAC. Notice how the QRS complexes here are incredibly wide, definitely way over our 0.12 second rule.
Monomorphic VTAC means every single wide QRS complex looks identically shaped, like cookie cutters. Polymorphic VTAC, on the other hand, means there's a clear structural variation in every single beat. The shape is constantly twisting, which you'll most famously see on exams as torsades to points. All right, let's step into part 3, the rhythm abnormalities comparison table. Honestly, this table is absolute gold for your board prep. It clearly contrasts the chaotic killers that need immediate shocks with things like AFib and heart blocks that need totally different strategies. Notice how VFib demands DC cardioversion, and a STEMI needs rapid reperfusion in the cath lab. But say you see an absent P wave with RR intervals that are regularly irregular. That's atrial fibrillation, and your immediate action shifts to rate control. Or what if the P waves in QRS complexes have absolutely zero relation to each other? They're completely divorced. That is a third-degree heart block, meaning you need pacemaker intervention. Let's hit part 4, high-yield board facts. These are the specific numbers you absolutely must memorize. Okay, so time is literally mapped right onto the grid paper. One small box is exactly 0.04 seconds. One large box, that's 0.20 seconds. Now, a normal PR interval sits right between 0.12 and 0.20 seconds, so 3 to 5 small boxes. If that PR stretches out past 0.20, boom, think AV block. Meanwhile, a normal QRS is less than 0.12 seconds. So any QRS complex wider than 3 small boxes should instantly trigger alarm bells in your head for a ventricular conduction problem or a bundle branch block. The final pulse. Testing your readiness. As we wrap up this explainer, I want you to project yourself directly into the emergency department or right into the hot seat of your next major board exam. When that monitor alarm blares and you see a chaotic, unorganized scribble with absolutely zero discernible P, Q, R, S, or T waves, are you going to hesitate? Or will you immediately charge the defibrillator for a shockable rhythm? Remember, time is muscle. Your ability to instantly recognize the difference between a normal baseline and a lethal rhythm is quite literally the defining line between life and death. So memorize these concepts, understand the underlying physics, and you won't hesitate when it truly counts. Thanks for joining me on this deep dive into the ticking clock of ECGs. Keep studying, and I will catch you on the next explainer.